Tonight, the drought is top of mind for California farmers, but the coming heat is another factor that can't be ignored. Specifically, how to keep farm workers safe when the temperature starts to climb. And there's still work that needs to be done. Common Ground's Kevin Oliver shows us how some farmers are gearing up to meet new heat illness regulations that some say go too far.
How California farmers and growers treat their workers has come a long way since the 1960s. Then, few offered toilets, drinking water, or shade.
I'd like to see the agricultural industry and the union working together.
Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers Union changed that, and working conditions improved greatly.
I know that we've always valued our workers, and we've always treated them as family, you know, and some workers have been working for us for in excess of 20 years.
Brad Gehring is a fifth-generation farmer. His family runs Gehring Vineyards in Clements. 160 acres of wine grapes are tended here.
We grow Pinot Grigio, Cabernet Sauvignon, Sangiovese, and Petit Syrah.
He says as much as they invest in keeping their vines healthy, the same care is given to their employees.
I work alongside with the guys, not so much as I used to, so I clearly know what it's like to be in a crew all day during the various times of the year. A well-appreciated rest at lunch or break, you know, it's nice to have a nice place to sit and take a break.
So when it was announced that starting May 1st, new heat illness regulations were going into effect, Gehring was one of the first to go on a fact-finding mission.
I think with any regulation, we want to always understand with clarity what the regulation is.
One change, farmers must provide enough shade for all employees taking rest breaks or cool-down periods when the temperature exceeds 80 degrees. Employees who eat lunch on site are also entitled to shade. Previously, if the temperature hit 80, employers only had to provide enough shade for 25% of employees.
I think we haven't had that much time since the original heat illness regulations have been created, and we're kind of questioning the need for some of those.
There are also new water mandates. Water for employees must be fresh, pure, cooler than ambient temperature, as close as possible to crews, and it must be provided free of charge. And each employer must have a written heat illness prevention plan.
It's getting to the point where we have so many regulations, and for example, the heat illness regulation is something that has changed and is changing, and so to keep up with that, a lot of people are starting to hire people specifically in charge of that kind of oversight.
Gehring is not the only one looking for guidance. Brian Little is with the Farm Employers Labor Service. The agency has been holding meetings across the state, helping farmers and growers like Gehring get ready for the changes.
I think the biggest one is probably figuring out if you have a large crew working in an area that's not that big, is finding a way to provide shade for everyone going on a break, which is one of the new things that the regulation requires.
While few would argue that providing shade and water is the right thing to do, how that happens is also mandated, and that is proving to be a challenge for some farmers.
Well, generally speaking, what the agency is looking for is shade that is of a quality that you don't cast a shadow while you're in it, so it's actually useful as shade to allow you a place to cool off. They also don't want you getting in a car that's been sitting in the sun for 3 or 4 hours, because it's going to be hotter in the car than it was outside. Natural shade is probably the gold standard for shade. It's the best there is. It keeps the ground underneath the tree or whatever it is you're using cool all day long.
Back at Gehring Vineyards, they started planting shade trees 8 years ago.
Our workers, you know, they always tend to congregate. If there's one tree on a ranch, they'll park underneath that tree and they'll have lunch underneath that tree. So as well as for aesthetic reasons, now it's serving a dual purpose with the new heat illness regulations.
But for those who don't have shade trees, Western Square Industries in Stockton has come up with an alternative solution: mobile shade trailers.
So what happens is the trailer comes out in the field, the roof opens up to a position where it gives the best possible shade from the sun.
Trygve Mikkelsen says the company started making these mobile shade trailers 5 years ago, when the first heat illness regulations went into effect.
Oh, it's absolutely critical that the shade is available and that the water is available. There is a first aid kit in here that the foreman or the owner has placed in there.
The shade trailers can seat 12 employees each and are shaded with galvanized roofing material. They sell for about $2,600.
So in this setup, here's an example of water at both ends of the trailer. The workers will be seated here, and this roof can be lowered to a different position by the foreman. He can change the roof to a different position depending on the time of day. When as the sun moves, he can pick up the trailer and he can move the trailer itself.
Western Square has sold nearly 30 trailers since the beginning of the year, and they're gearing up for new orders.
We believe that in California there will probably be a doubling of the need with the new regulations.
Whether farmers choose shade trailers or trees, the regulations go into effect soon, and officials say they will be enforced.
I don't have any sense that the agency is going to give us a grace period on this. I think they want to be out there enforcing on day one.
Kevin Oliver for Common Ground.
In addition to heavily monitoring agricultural sites, Cal OSHA is also paying attention to construction sites and all companies with outdoor places of employment.